Let's consider the case of Christianity. It began its decline when Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. If you read it, you'll see he defined the state of Christianity quite precisely. He pointed out that it's slowly dying out right before our eyes. And that is truly the case, primarily because, if we are being honest, given how it was constructed, it was not capable of withstanding social revolutions. And its inevitable demise began to take hold somewhere around the middle of the 19th century. And by the time the early 20th century had arrived, Christianity had, for all intents and purposes, practically ceased to exist as a dominant leading religion that could, if you will, truly capture the hearts and minds of the people, that could effectively move the needle on major societal issues, that could actually accomplish anything of substance from a strictly religious standpoint. Consequently, it was forced to adapt. Christianity has managed to adapt itself quite conveniently to the complex demands of our modern world. You see, we have Christian democratic parties. Yes, and just like in Israel, there are also, so to speak, religious parties that currently hold the reins of political power. You know exactly what I mean. A party based entirely on religious doctrine. So in a practical sense, as a living religion or as a genuine spiritual foundation for the people, Christianity is effectively dead. However, the faith of Islam was firmly established at the moment of its inception. It was specifically designed as a remarkably resilient, hardy, and robust set of teachings that is fully capable of enduring and withstanding any manner of difficult circumstances or shifting tides throughout the world. Thus, it was built in a fundamentally different way. Take Islam. It had a living, tangible leader who, in a manner of speaking, received a divine prophecy. And there is no doubt about that fact. If there are various questions about Christianity, even among Christians themselves, then in Islam everything is quite simple. There was a prophet, he received prophecies, he started creating his religious community, and on that basis he built a new, so to speak, a new community, a new teaching. And it turned out to be quite stable because, well, if you read the Quran, it's obvious. It's clear just from the Quran itself that, the teaching was built in such a way that it would endure in difficult situations. And indeed, that's exactly what happened. This teaching, Islam has endured, it managed to endure in difficult situations. However, it says it also possessed a distinct advantage. Islam had its origins in the East, far from Europe, and removed from all the social revolutions as well as the technical revolutions. It existed at a great distance, it originated far away and developed far away. And because of this, it was able to strengthen itself quite significantly. And today, that is to say, in our own, so to speak, modern times, quite recently, let us say, when the moment finally arrived. Well, let us put it this way. Consider the case of blatant, overt atheism, because in essence, democracy is nothing more than blatant atheism. It is not merely, if I may put it that way, some minor or incidental matter. Democracy is, in my view, a truly terrible and destructive thing. It is atheism carried, if you will, to its absolute and most extreme conclusion. To the absolute, yeah. So, when the time came for this very democracy, when democracy started flooding the whole world, when practically only, architectural monuments were left of Christianity, let's say almost nothing else, of Judaism, because it fell under the thumb of Zionism, practically nothing is left either. And in the world as it stands today, apart from the faith of Islam, there is truly nothing left. And Islam, among its many other characteristics, was structured in such a specific way that those who followed the Prophet Muhammad and those who in the years that followed, so to speak, embraced this religion, how should I even put it? They were living in a state of constant, ongoing communication with the Creator at all times. I mean, for a Christian, if he happens to go to church just once a week on a Sunday, I suppose that's a good thing. In its own particular way, if you know what I mean, yeah? But you see, a devout Muslim will get down on his knees to pray 5 times every single day. Yes, 5 times a day, without fail. And it is all strictly timed, so to speak. I live right there among them, And besides that, when I happened to travel over to Europe, I was at the airport in Rome, and I found this quiet little corner. It was finally time for me to pray. So I made my way over to that corner, and 2 Muslim men actually came in there to join me. I stood there, said my own prayers, and they, laid out some newspapers and got on their knees. That's Islam. And when you look at the big picture, all of this really says quite a lot. A person prays 5 times every single day for at least 5 minutes. The prayer itself is actually quite short. I took the time, I had the opportunity to examine the prayer and look closely at what is written within it. You know, even though the prayer is very short, it is incredibly serious and it carries a great deal of depth. A person will kneel down for 5 full minutes, bow their head low, and recite exactly what is written there. In that very moment, he is truly communicating directly with the Almighty. That is something of profound importance. It really means a great deal. So, if we look at the situation overall, Islam is really the religion of the future, or so we could say. So if the world has not yet been shut down today simply because the state called Israel continues to exist, and that is precisely the stage we find ourselves in at this moment, then a rapid shutdown of the world is already underway because that state has no right to exist. A full year and a half ago, every one of the possible allowable time frames had already expired. That is the reality. The world has begun to close, and what I mean by that is that the Almighty Himself is now closing the world. All these, if I may say so, economic and various other crises, all these catastrophes that are unfolding one right after another, any and all attempts at making further forecasts, you know, like trying to stop emissions, it is all entirely pointless. The world as we know it will be shut down. It is inevitable unless, so to speak, they manage to liquidate this state, which is, in fact, the very root of all evil. So, if it is possible for it to be completely liquidated, then I believe that in approximately 70 years from now, the vast majority of the entire Earth's population will be practicing the Islamic faith. Because it is a religion that is, well, really quite strong and correct in its principles, and it effectively guides people in the exact direction that they truly need to be heading. The only thing is, of course, that there are some underlying problems. You have the Shiites and the Sunnis, and as you know, they experience quite a bit of friction with one another regarding certain sensitive issues. Well, that is certainly understandable, but for the time being, I truly hope that if we can somehow reach a point where we can finally liquidate, so to speak, what we are facing today, the very root of this evil, then all of the problems between them will eventually fade away as well. And indeed, most people in the world will start practicing Islam. Today, this process is already visible because they are, so to speak, filling up, spreading out. And I don't remember exactly where now, but in one of the European countries, they categorically banned building new mosques. Yeah, but you see, because this rapid spread is actually happening right now, the entire future of this world belongs to Islam. Yes, even in Switzerland, exactly. The future of the world belongs to Islam. That is absolutely for sure. If we can manage to successfully isolate and localize the specific problem that we are facing today.